This was the first thing Uchiyama-san said as we crossed over the threshold into the Kuyama house. And it's dark in here, okay. I heard Daigo-kun answer from behind me. As for myself, I was feeling rather intimidated following along behind Uchiyama-san. The Kuyama residence was by no means cramped. It was every bit as fancy as one might expect from the home of a real estate mogul. But... oh god, that's some creepy clock noises. Jesus, it's loud as hell. And it probably won't stop as long as I don't progress, so... yeah, the front porch alone looked to be about the same size as my office back home. From there, the front door opened into a foyer that was about the size of an average bedroom. Ahead lay a staircase to the second floor, with bedroom doors on either side. The hallway was caked in a thin layer of dust. Per Mitsue-san's request, we paused to change out of our shoes and into the provided guest slippers. She had said the layout of the house was fairly straightforward, but there was no telling how accurate that was until we saw it for ourselves. God damn it, Kai. You're the fucking best, you know? You're the best fucking horror protagonist I've ever seen. You only had a few minor slip-ups where you acted like a retard, but so far, you're reasonable. And that's what I want. Uchiyama-san seemed fairly casual about it, but I shook my head. I won't walk through this fucking haunted house without anyone by my side. Daigo-kun reached out and gently took my hand. That's another romance flag right there. He's protecting her. Okay, he will die. He will fucking die. Wasn't he scared at the prospect of being all alone in here? And yet, Uchiyama-san nodded without hesitation. What a retard.
Mitsue-sanの話だと、ご主人の書斎や夫婦の寝室は2階にあるそうです。ただ、そういった場所に隠すかどうかは謎ですけど。
Uchiyama-san looked up at the ceiling and murmured pensively. Yeah, where to hide his stuff then?
わかりやすいところには隠さないかもしれませんけど、1階はリビングや応接間程度ですかね。
リビング、ダイニング、応接間に、あとはバストイレという感じですか。
It's funny how Japanese is sometimes just English words. I wonder if they don't have any Japanese words for living room or dining room. They literally call it living and dining and then a Japanese word for room.
怪しいとしたら応接間?
I promptly shook my head.
そういうところは主婦が確実に掃除に入る場所でしょ。見つかる可能性も高いわ。
そういう意味じゃ家中どこもそうでしょう。じゃあ俺とカエさんは2階で、内山さんは1階でどうですか?
You know, I kind of got used to the ticking clock by now.
2人で探した方が分かりそうな場所は2階でしょうから。
Again, Uchiyama-san nodded without hesitation.
じゃあ、
Idiot.
一応30分後に玄関ポーチに集合ってことにしましょう。何か見つかったらその都度大声で叫ぶってことで。
Yeah, make sure to yell really loud if you find a ghost.
叫ぶんですか?
家が広いですからね。別に携帯でもいいですよ。
わかりました。じゃあ、カエさん、行きましょ
う。Urged on by Daigo-kun, I headed for the stairs. The house appeared to be rather solidly built, but unfortunately the lack of regular maintenance was starting to take its toll. Wait, how long has this thing been abandoned? It couldn't be more than a year or two or something, right? You shouldn't notice anything really in a solidly built house. The stairs creaked under my weight. No! They would have done that before. This has nothing to do with it being abandoned. At the top lay a dark hallway with 3 doors. Even the dust shouldn't be that thick after a year or two. The hallway itself continued on to the right. Perhaps there were more doors further down.
さて、じゃあ片っ端から行きましょうか。
With that, Daigo-kun opened the closest door. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't mentally prepared myself to start so soon. The door swung open to reveal a walk-in closet. The racks were lined with expensive brand-name items, and I could see a vintage Polonia wood wardrobe in the back, possibly for storing kimonos.
ここは奥さんの衣装部屋かな。
Damn.
そうみたいね。
じゃあここにはないかな。
Few men would dare set foot in a woman's closet, much less men of President Koyama's age. There was always the possibility, of course, but it was a meager one at best.
そうね。ここはありえないかもしれないわね。
Oh man. There was another door in the closet. Judging from the layout of the hallway, it seemed to lead into the next room over. Having seemingly given up on searching this room, Daigo-kun promptly put his hand on the doorknob and opened it.
ねえ、
A ghost.
大吾くん。怖くないの？
Then again, why would they be scared at all in this house? They know where the fucking ghost is. And they don't have any indication or lead that the ghost can actually leave the apartment or the apartment complex and suddenly spook them over here. So do they still think there's another one? Another ghost here? Or I called out to him as he stepped into the next room, and he responded without so much as a glance back.
怖いってば。怖がってても何もわからないから。
それはそうだけど。
Hesitantly, I followed him through the door into what appeared to be a bedroom. There were 2 beds. Sheets had been cast over the wardrobe and chest of drawers. A small table sat between the beds, reminiscent of a classy hotel room.
軽く探してみようか。
I nodded.
ドレッサーはまず可能性薄いから、ベッドから探しましょうか。
そうだね。
The room was furnished rather plainly. The beds and table were the only decent hiding spots I could see. As for the wardrobe, well, chances were he wouldn't have hidden it in any spot that the wife was likely to interact with.
あります？
それらしいものはないわね。
こっちもです。
The plain furnishings helped speed our search right along. Our time was limited, so we opened the door to the hallway and left the room. Just then, Daigo-kun came to a stop.
どうしたの？
Why?
いや、今ドアが閉まる音がしませんでした。
I actually didn't hear one, but okay. I paused to listen, but to no avail. I mean, it's already done. Of course you won't hear it now.
何も聞こえないけど、内山さんじゃないの？
And that's another possibility. There's someone else in the house with... It wouldn't be all that surprising to overhear some noise from him poking around below us. The dark hallway stretched on past the stairs, and I could see a single door at the end. It seemed foreboding somehow. I quickly averted my
2
gaze.
階のような気がしたんだけどな。
Goosebumps pricked up on my arms.
変なこと言わないでよ。
次行きましょうか。
Baka baka, don't say that. Maybe he'd managed to creep himself out too. With resignation in his tone, he opened the door to the next room. Evidently it was a study. The room was massive, nearly the size of a studio apartment, with 5 or so bookshelves and a large impressive desk. Damn, I'd wish I had an office like that. There were a few filing cabinets as well. Evidently the man had done his work in here at some point.
ここは探しがいがありそうですね。
そうね。
Rather than waste time digging through each bookshelf individually, we checked only the most likely spots, but turned up empty-handed. There was just too much to look through.
ここ、30分くらいじゃ無理なんじゃない？
I could hear the defeat in my own voice. Fortunately, Daigo-kun seemed to agree.
後日改めて来た方がいいかもしれませんね。何日かかけるつもりで。
No, don't just stop because you guys are afraid. Come on, you're here now. Do it now. Just then his voice trailed off. I glanced over to find him frozen in place.
どうしたの？
He pressed a finger to his lips in a quiet gesture and I listened carefully. Oh no, there actually is someone here. Shit. Now I look like a big goofus, don't I?
何？
Nani? Indeed. So something is opening and closing doors in here and walking around. I heard him suck in a breath. Dimly, I remember the fear in Mitsue-san's eyes. I really love the music right now. It reminds me of Corpse Party. I think Corpse Party had also some really good tracks and some not so good, but there were a few really good tracks in there and it fit the mood perfect for the game. Same as with Neighbor now. Some of those tracks really hit the nail on its head. The footsteps and door sounds were drawing closer. Before I knew it, I was clutching Daigo-kun's shirt. I drew myself close to him, careful not to make a sound. The footsteps were heading in the direction of the study. Then they came to a stop just outside the door. Just fling it wide open.
大吾君
黙って
Creak. The door slowly opened.
何か見つかりました？
Fuck it, I knew it. Jesus Christ. Fuck me. Of course there's no ghost here. Why would there be one? Come on. And there's Tsutochiyama-san looking as unruffled as ever.
内山さん
びっくりした
We both clutched at our chests and heaved loud sighs of relief. Meanwhile, Uchihama-san stared blankly at us, with a knife in his bag.
なんです
No,
よ、
okay.
二人して変な顔して。
いや内山さんだとは思わなかったんで
I felt the tension drain from Daigo-kun's shoulders. Meanwhile, I wiped the sweat from my brow. Jesus Christ.
幽霊とでも思ったんですか？そんなバカな。
Yeah, don't be buggers, come on. Grinning wryly, Uchiyama-san stepped into the room. He slipped on a ghost banana and died. Oh, okay, strange. I could have sworn I saw a shadow behind him. Uh-oh, I rubbed my
どう
eyes.
したのカイさん
いや別に
Is it the creepy hand in the mirror again? Or in a window or something? On second glance, there was no shadow to be found. Maybe it was just the door. I called out to Uchiyama-san.
何か見つかりました
いいえ、さっぱりです。応接間の天袋まで見ましたけどね。
I noticed a spider web caught in his hair. I plucked it off for him, and he inclined his head in thanks. Okay. Then I saw a spider crawling on his head and swept it off for him as well. Damn,
2階はどうですか？
I
ま
sighed.
だ何も今書斎を調べてたんですけどこの通りで
Okay. For a second I thought he was cracking a joke, as in any luck up here on my head. But okay. I gestured around at the furnishings and he nodded in understanding.
確かに、ここは一苦労しそうですね。
Well, we have to start somewhere, and this is the most likely place, I think.
日を改めた方がいいと思うんですけどね30分じゃ無理ですよ
Uchiyama-san frowned.
まあ、通夜には遅れるってさっき電話を入れたんで、時間はいいんですけど。奥は見てないんでしょ？
Evidently he was referring to whatever lay beyond the door at the end of the hall.
ええ書斎で止まってましたから
Daigo-kun shook his head and Uchiyama-san glanced down the hall.
じゃあまずは奥を見てみましょうよ。それでどこを重点に探すか決めましょう。
Neither myself nor Daigo-kun had any argument. Together, the three of us left the study and headed down the dimly lit corridor to the large door at the end.
しかしなんでこんなに薄暗いんですかね窓の一つもあっていいのに
Windows in a hallway? What?
いやー、窓はありますよ。ほら。
Uchiyama-san pointed to a spot on the wall. There, a window pane appeared. What? All at once, sunlight streamed into the hallway.
なんで
Nani? Uchiyama-san grinned knowingly.
壁と同じ素材を使って窓を隠す仕掛けはよくあるんですよ。
Is it?
光を
Really?
一切通さないから暗幕代わりに企業の研修室なんかに使われることが多いんですけどね。
Wait, are they already in the back room now?
どうしてここがそうだって知ってたんですか
Yeah, why do you know that? Maybe you are really a ghost.
外から見た時にここに窓があったから。
Not suspicious at all. That would explain it. No. As perhaps befitting of a journalist, his powers of observation far outstripped my own. No. Daigo-kun reached the door first and promptly stopped short.
廊下も明るくなってちょっと雰囲気が良くなったことだし入りましょうよ
His hand was already on the doorknob. Admittedly, he had a point. We couldn't spend all day cooing over hidden Windows setup. I glanced at Uchiyama-san and we hurried over to the door.
じゃあ最後の部屋に入りましょ
Fucking stop talking and check it out already. With that, Daigo-kun pulled the door open. Beyond it lay a spacious open area.
ここって一体
It looks weird. Looks like some kind of bar.
プレイルームですね。
As he answered, Daigo-kun walked inside. Uchiyama-san followed him in, and I followed last. The room was easily larger than the study, and almost certainly larger than my entire apartment. Jesus. I could see a pool table, a dartboard, and a fully stocked home bar with shelves of liquor bottles and glasses lining the walls.
すごい
Yeah, すごいですね。
う。金はうなるほどあったらしいですからね。
I wandered curiously around the room. The flooring was a different color in here. Why? Then I noticed a large stain on the floor behind the pool table. Oh.
これ何かしら
I can guess. Uchiyama-san walked over to me. He looked at the stain, then up at the ceiling.
ここ社長が自殺した場所ですね。
Yeah, this is where he shat himself after he did that, I guess. And all the other stuff came out. This wasn't as creepy as I imagined it would be. Come on. Next
社長
chapter.
が自殺した
Let's take a look at the hint here. He killed himself here. Real estate CEO found dead in apartment suicide. Apparent suicide, sorry. Real estate CEO Kuyama Keiji asked 67 was found hanging in his house earlier this morning. His wife Kuyama Fumi. Jesus, this font is ridiculously bad for this. Found him in his bedroom unconscious and with a rope around his neck. Evidence of a physical struggle at the scene has led detectives to investigate the possibility of a homicide in addition to suicide, police said. As CEO of a local real estate agency, Kuyama maintained a significant number of interpersonal connections. Neighbors claim he had complicated personal circumstances and could often be heard shouting at his wife. Police say they plan to investigate his acquaintances for potential suspects. Great. Amazing. Yes, he killed himself here, Kai. He had to kill himself somewhere. Daigo-kun stared down at the stain for a moment. Looks like shit and guts.
あれでも社長って自分の部屋で亡くなったんじゃ。
Oh, found him in his bedroom unconscious with a rope around. Oh, so his wife took him down? I only just realized, but that's, yeah. His wife found him in his bedroom unconscious with a rope around his neck. Who took him down? Uchiyama-san smiled slightly.
この部屋を見たらわかるでしょう。ここは男の趣味が詰まってます。
But it's at his
ここ
fucking
が社長の部屋
bedroom.
だったんですよ。
In his bedroom. He had a point. Unlike the study, which was clearly furnished for work purposes only, the rec room was brimming with a boyish sense of wonder. At the same time, however, it carried a certain mature refinement. I could easily see it being his personal room.
それに、あれを見てみてくださいよ。
He has to point to a bed, otherwise I'm not satisfied. Uchiyama-san indicated a small door in the far corner of the room. We opened it to find a thin metal staircase that led out into the courtyard.
こういう出入り口を作りたがるのは、この部屋で落ち着きたかったからじゃないですかね。
Fuck me, now I'm jealous.
なるほど
Daigo-kun and I nodded and turned back to find Uchiyama-san standing on the stain. That's weird thing to do.
気持ち悪くないんですか。
But Uchiyama-san ignored him and continued.
この上、ご覧なさい。太い針があるでしょう。
At his request, I looked up and sure enough, there were several wooden ceiling beams that ran from wall to wall, affording the room a sort of log cabin aesthetic. On closer inspection, I noticed there was a ceiling fan right above him.
社長が首を通したロープは、あの針から通ってファンに巻きついていたんです。
Uchiyama-san, why the fuck are you so creepy right now?
足元にはファンのリモコンと散らばったカード。そして社長の汚物。
Yeah, an icy drop of sweat trickled down my spine. Uchiyama-san took a step back from the stain as he carried on, almost enraptured.
壁のあちこちにダーツの矢が刺さり、球は折れたまま台の上。
Darts sticking out of the walls, what the fuck? A broken cue lying on the pool table. Why would he trash his own room like that before killing himself?
ファンはまだ動いていて、社長の足は発見されたその時までブラブラと揺れて。
You gotta admit, just imagine it, and it's pretty fucking funny.
まるで見てきたように言うんですね。
Daigakun's dry comment brought me back to reality.
とにかくめぼしいところを探してみましょうよ。
There's something fucking wrong with Uchiyama. I think he got replaced by a ghost or something. This is getting really suspicious now. The way he acts and talks and what he seems to know. Suddenly.
いくら時間ができたとは言っても、そうゆっくりもしてられないでしょ。
Yeah, don't dilly-dally. More accurately, I didn't want to be in here a single second longer than necessary. Contrary to Uchiyama, who seems to enjoy standing on the fucking spot where this dude died.
そうですね。じゃあ私はバーを探します。
He sounds really weird. With that, Uchiyama-san headed over to the counter. I wonder if... that's just me speculating, but there are different nuances in Japanese speech patterns where you can recognize whether or not it's a female or a male. So people use different words and pronunciations and stuff. And what if he's in the Japanese localization, like suddenly using female words? I don't know if you get what I mean, but he sounds rather weird, kind of like a female ghost. Meanwhile, Daigo-kun silently walked off in the direction of the dartboard on the wall. That left me with the pool table area. Careful to avoid the stains as much as possible, I began my search. The table itself was handsomely crafted from solid oak. Despite more thorough examination, however, I came up empty-handed. The surface was scratched here and there. If what Uchiyama-san said was true, then perhaps the marks were from Kuyama hitting the table with his cue. Goosebumps pricked up on my arms. Steering my train of thought away, I forced myself to focus on the search at hand. Next, I moved on to the area surrounding the table. I'm sorry the fucking newspaper article is still in the background. Come to think of it, aristocrats in olden days used to build cigar cases into their pool tables. Really? Perhaps the table's design was suited to accommodate little compartments like that. Damn, that's smart. Meanwhile, as I admired the elegant curves of the table legs, I felt something bump against my hip. What was that? Confused, I straightened my posture. Again, something bumped into my hip. Hip harder this time. Just fucking look! Across the room, I could see Uchiyama-san over by the bar counter. Must be Daigo-kun then.
何、大吾くん。何か見つけ。
Find something? But before I could finish, I saw something hanging right in front of me. Oh, that's a scared Nani if I ever heard one. It swung around in my direction and I stepped back to avoid it.
Kai-san, nani?
Daigo-kun's voice sounded so distant. The fan was twitching and rattling loudly. Its spin was hindered by a rope wrapped around its blades. All at once, an overpowering putrid stench filled the air. Fire rose in my throat with my scream. Just fucking tell me what the fuck is happening. Fuck me. Close this fucking article. Get the feeling I'm missing something. You know what we'll do? Let's fucking... We'll speed through this real quickly, okay?